Thank you, Matt.
Welcome back. Melanie Rackley, Office of Charter Schools. We are going to begin with our second round interviews. Just a quick recap on what we've agreed upon, 45 minutes, condensed timing. Our second round interview applicants, they have provided their Q&A responses. You all have had that made available to you all via e-board. So you all have reviewed that information. We will allow our applicants to provide an abbreviated opening statement followed by your Q&A, 25 minutes, and then a 5-minute closing statement by our applicants, and then you all will vote, have your deliberation for 10 minutes. So just to kind of recap with Revitalize Charter School, if we can pull up their sheet. All right, so Revitalize Charter School's proposed location for Wake County. In year one, they will serve grades kindergarten through grade 2 with 216 students. Year 2, K3 with 288. Year 3, K4, 360. Year 4, K5 with 432 students. And then year 5, they'll service K through 6 with 504 students at capacity. At grades K through 8, they will service 648 students, and that's anticipated for year 7. We'll provide the National Lunch Program and CEP eligibility. They are going to provide transportation to their students, use a weighted lottery. They do have a facility, and they're also prepared to speak to their contingency facility as well. There was not an LEA impact statement submitted for Revitalize. They are not a repeat applicant, and they are not using the services of CMO or EMO. Their application was complete at the time of submission, and so I'm going to turn it over to the Revitalize Board, allow them to make their 5-minute opening statement, and again, they do have all of your Q&A and all of the documentation that you provided to us.
So our board chair is on the way, just a few minutes away. I know we were scheduled to start at 12:30.
Okay.
I can do our intro, and she'll kind of jump in. Maybe that's just, if you see her walk in, that's not good.
Well, let's just look at the map here, and we'll look at what Revitalize currently is proposing in the northeast quadrant of Raleigh. They are looking to assume the facility of Casa Esperanza once that is vacated. You can actually look at, greater than a dozen schools that are in that general zip code there within a 5-mile radius. There are a lot of the LEA schools that we have, and then by way of charter, we have Endeavor, which is within that 5-mile radius there. Their future site and what they're proposing is to move further into the southeast quadrant of Raleigh. I believe the 27610 area code. They have provided their contingency facility, believing to be Garner Community Center, right? And so they'll be prepared to speak to that later. But again, if you all want to go ahead and allow Revitalize to make their intro.
Good afternoon. My name is Ansel Cáceres. I am the founder and proposed head of school for Revitalize Charter School. Thank you again for having us for round 2. We just wanted to start by thanking CSAB and some of the DPI staff that have really helped us in this process and helped to make it as seamless as possible. Specifically, Melanie Rackley, Dr. Darian Jones, and Ashley Bequero, who's been super helpful in this process so far. So last round, we were asked to come back with a few questions. If you have any questions and clarifying questions about that, of course, we are open and ready to answering any of those questions today. We have identified a contingency facility. It's called Garner Road Community Center. It's in Raleigh. Specifically, it's in the 27610 zip code, which is our target location. It was previously used as a YMCA some years back. Now it's being used as an after-school program and youth sports center. During the very beginning of COVID-19, it was being used as like before and after care and some support for students who are working remotely. The space has about 17,000 square feet indoors, but they also have an outdoor area for space. They have a garden space, just like Casa Esperanza space does actually. And they are open to discussing how we can utilize that space. They definitely have enough classroom spaces for us in year one, as well as office space as we need it, and some open flex rooms if necessary. And we talked about servicing some of our EC students and doing some of the small group work that we discussed in our application and in round one there. As far as lease rates, because it's a Plan B, they've given us their lease rate generally, like what their rental rate is. But as we look to use that space, if we come to that need, we'll be meeting with their board to discuss a lease rate, of course, both ways that work within our budget. And so that's the general gist of the facility. And so, yeah, I mean, we're open and ready to answering any other questions that you have, whether it be connected to the questions that you all sent over last month or any other questions that have come up over this last month. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. And as a reminder, so we did, this is the second interview. We had sent them a list of 8 questions as a follow-up to the first interview. They responded to those 8 questions, which is that response was shared in eBoard with all of us. So the purpose of today's second interview, which can last up to 25 minutes, may not need to take that long if we don't deem it necessary. Really should maybe getting clarification first on any of the responses to the 8 questions that we asked of them. If those questions kind of elicit other questions, that's okay as well. But so why don't we start with, for CSAB board members, if there's any of the 8 questions and the responses that we want to hone in on.
I just have a comment on the alternate facility arrangements. I am very impressed with having that as an alternative because that does seem like a very substantial alternative to have in the situation that your first facility has not come through. So I do appreciate you working hard on pulling that together and having that as a viable option.
I too, my main concern was what's Plan B, and I know you guys are confident that Casa Esperanza is going to get where they need to be in time for you to get where you need to be, but we've dealt with a lot of confident people, some of us being some of the confident people, when things didn't happen when we thought they were. So I'm really pleased to see the backup plan you have, because I think that'll work fine.
On the question number 3 about the school counselor, am I reading this correctly then that you do not plan to have a school counselor the first year or 2? Can you clarify that for me?
Yeah, so.
You need to come in.
We discussed this question, with the board. We do not plan to have a school counselor because our social workers kind of take that role on themselves through our small groups SELs that'll happen weekly. They'll be pushing into classrooms with teachers and teaching mindfulness practice and some of the social work. Some of the social emotional learning that'll take place in classrooms as well. We are open to the conversation, but it was an intentional decision. I know the question was framed about replacing an AP with the counselor, and so we intentionally chose an AP in thinking about how our teachers will have room to move up within the organization and eventually we can expand. But it wasn't a conversation that we kind of shut down and said, no way. We actually wanted to know a little bit more about why a counselor was brought up versus the social work and the way that we kind of utilize social workers in our design. So no, in terms of the design, but yes, in terms of we're open to hearing a little more about it, if that makes sense.
Okay. You said you're going to be the principal.
I will.
If granted approval, how are you kind of in your preliminary hiring? Do you have kind of thoughts in mind already of who might be targeted for your admin team?
Not necessarily. We have spoken to a few local universities that are looking to work with us, and so we haven't necessarily, thought about who specifically will be in that place, but we have had conversations about where we would look to have those conversations and find our team, whether that would be, with admin or teachers, social workers, and so on. We do want it to be, of course, an intentional, strategic decision about who we have in that space.
Other questions or comments from board members?
Yeah, a question about the answer to number 7 about recruiting, retaining teachers. It mentions beginning teachers and mentor teachers and going up to years 3 to 5 years of experience. Does that mean that you will not be hiring teachers that have more than 5 years of experience? So in number 7, the question about recruiting and retaining teachers, your answer identifies beginning teachers, those with between 0 and 2 years of experience, and mentor teachers, those between 3 and 5 years of experience. Will you be hiring teachers with more than 5 years of experience for mentorship positions?
Absolutely, you can give it.
Okay,
Absolutely.
all right. And will they also be entitled to 1.5% higher compensation than those in Wayne County? Okay.
I need a little bit of clarification. The two-teacher model is a big deal in terms of your plan, and so then you decided. I'm I'm confused about how that's going to work after you regrouped.
So you want to have some clarification around that?
Yeah.
Good afternoon. How are you guys? I'm sorry, I thought our appointment was at 12:30, so I thought
It
it was
was.
early. Only to find tardy to the party. My apologies. So to speak to our two-teacher model, we had to regroup from that some when we began to look at our budget and some of the constraints we had. So we're still looking to have 2 more knowledgeable others in the building. So we're still on that Vygotsky model of more knowledgeable others. Both of our teachers having an MKO to mentor them into their process as a professional teacher, but also for our children having a more knowledgeable other. That looks a little different than we had initially proposed, which would have been 2 fully licensed teachers from day one. So now what we're going to start with is have at least 1 fully licensed teacher in every classroom, and then that second more knowledgeable other will be represented by a teacher in training. So it may be a teacher who has come in from one of our partnering colleges or universities that's doing their student teaching. As we move into year 2 and 3, our goal is to retain those teachers. So when we develop those partnerships, our goal is to retain the teachers that we've recruited to do their student teaching. So we're hoping by year 2, we'll have 2 fully licensed teachers in every classroom. But we're going to start with that fully licensed teacher, and then that co-teacher will really be someone who is going through a formalized teacher education program that will come to us, or in some cases, if they're coming through a master's program, they may be someone who isn't coming in through lateral entry, but doing their work to become a master's level type 2 licensed teacher will act as that co-teacher. Does that help?
Yeah. How many classrooms are you going to have?
Year 1 will be 9 o'clock.
That's a lot of student teachers to manage.
Yep. So 9 classrooms. I'm not going to deny that. Yes, that is a lot of classrooms, right? A lot of student teachers. This particular piece of the model was one that I was a part of in New York, in Brooklyn, of Ember Charter School, which they called it apprentice teachers, right? And so they're kind of moving up through the program. And so I'm very familiar with the challenges that come with having so many student teachers, but I do feel like we are equipped to do that and make sure that we are managing and supporting them in their requirements, as well as supporting them in learning and developing to understand our frameworks and our key design elements and how we kind of teach it in a little bit
Also
different of a way.
Finding enough colleges that are willing to place that many teachers in one
Yeah,
school.
so that piece I feel more confident about, even more so, right? And so we've spoken to almost every local university school of ed program, and all of them are on board with supporting us in that way, right? Providing Revitalize. Deciding that Revitalize will be its field work site for their teachers, whether that be in the master's program or the undergrad program, allowing us to come into their classrooms and speak to their graduating class, going to their recruitment fairs. And so that particular piece, we're pretty confident about in finding them. I think we're also thinking about how selective we want to be, right? We're not just, it's a free-for-all and whoever wants to sign up, come on board. We also are looking for teachers who are going to move up within our organization, and teachers that we can see as potential leads, and eventually leading the organization. So.
Yeah.
May I add something? One of the questions that had been readdressed was about our special education continuum of services and what that would look and how we would provide for that. And so one of the partnerships that we're really proud of is we've already been in conversation with North Carolina Central University, and they have their Masters of Special Education program, and they've already agreed, even ahead of assuming that we do get our approval, that they will work with us to make sure that we're placing master's level special educators in our classrooms as some of our co-teachers. So that will certainly help us with providing that continuum of services, because we'll have more people in our building that will have, that level of specialty and that area of, that area of expertise is the word that I want to say. So that's one of them. We've also had conversations and met with top levels of leadership at UNC Chapel Hill at their School of Ed, who's also in the process of reorganizing, as I'm sure you all know. They're looking at moving to that 5-year model for their students in terms of School of Education graduates. And so they're waiting to see what their dispensation will be and what the state board's dispensation will be. But they've already told us they're very excited and interested in working with us as well, assuming that we do get our approval. So we're excited about that, and it will help us answer some of your questions and concerns around our special education program as well.
Any other questions, comments from board members? Well, hearing none, you have 5 minutes for a closing statement if you'd like.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Morgan Camus. I'm the vice chair of Revitalize, and I'm sorry that this is the only time that you've seen me. I was joining virtually for the first interview. But I just wanted to echo what Ansel said. This has been a collaborative and sort of co-created process from you as the authorizers to us as the practitioners, and it's really just been incredibly enjoyable and strategic and thoughtful as you have a larger purview as to what would make a quality charter portfolio across the county. So we've really enjoyed the partnership. We are so excited to get started. I think so much of our enthusiasm came through in the first interview. We've done research, we've done partnerships, we're trying to build coalitions, we're working on student recruitment, we're talking about partnerships with human capital organizations like our colleges and universities, and we are just ready to hit go. And so this has been a really helpful process to step back and reevaluate strategically where our opportunities are for the first year, and then moving forward what our strategic plan could look like. So on behalf of all of us at Revitalize, I know we have a few folks perhaps joining virtually. It has been a truly wonderful experience, and really appreciate your guidance and thoughtfulness in the partnership from the beginning. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, we have 10 minutes of deliberation if you would like. I'll start and just simply say, first of all, thank you for coming back, and thank you for taking time to thoroughly answer the questions that we sent to you after your first interview. I thought you guys did a great job then. I think the questions were answered well today. I think back to this morning before lunch, we talked about one of the roles of CSAB is making sure that we have full confidence and trust in recommending giving a charter to a board, and that they have the capacity to pull this off. And I think this has proven to be a really quality board who have not just the passion, but I think experience to do this. So thank you for your time here today and last month as well.
And I mirror those thoughts. I trust them. I firmly believe they know what they will be doing and will do it well. And I'm totally in favor of recommending when it's time.
Any other thoughts or comments? Sure.
All right, well, I'll recommend to the State Board of Education that Revitalize Charter School be moved to ready to open status on accelerated timeline.
I second that.
A motion and a second, any discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
That one we need to do.
Or do we need to do
Like a roll call.
roll
You
call?
don't have to do a roll call because we don't have anybody virtual, so you could do
Oh,
it.
okay.
Okay. Then we'll just do group. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? Okay, congratulations. Now the real work begins.
That's right.
That's what we say at the end of church.
So many questions, so please don't disappear. People that had questions for us, because we have many questions for you all, because we want to be worthy of your confidence in us, so.
And don't disappoint.
Oh, you have a whole group here as well as the Office of Charter Schools that are, behind you. We want you to succeed. So,
Congratulations.
So both meetings, you guys, the accelerated applicants will take those on recommendation to the state board. December probably, we'll have, yeah, so December. And then, we'll go to the state board process, we'll be doing all that, okay? Thank you so much. You will not have to appear before them.
And we'll just be doing this all
Yep, there will be a Yep, and any questions, just, our office is here to help.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
All righty.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you so much. All right. So I see two, let's see.
We're about an
I
hour
see
early.
two online, I believe from Oak Hill, but I do not believe their full board is on. I don't see their
Can
board
we go
chair
to
unless it's
closed session?
somebody else on there.
Yeah. Would it be possible to do the closed session now?
We should be able to do a closed session now, yeah, why not? We've got the attorneys.
I think we're having participation from another division as well.
Oh, that's right, okay, let me check on that.
okay. Take a short recess.
Yeah, we might want to take a break.
You're just so efficient today.
Yeah. So far ahead of
We'll
time.
make up for it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just gonna do well.
I haven't
Ackley Office of Charter Schools, we are welcoming back Oak Hill Charter School as a second round applicant. Just a quick refresher, Oak Hill is proposed for Caldwell County. You have their proposed grades here. They are opening with K through 7 with 192 students, years 2 through year 5, K-8 with 216 students. So they'll meet capacity in year 2. They will actually utilize, or they will provide lunch and breakfast food service to their students, and they're prepared to talk to you all today about some of those second round questioning as it relates to breakfast and lunch services. They will provide transportation to their student body. They will use a weighted lottery. They do have a facility in Caldwell County. There was not an LEA impact submitted for Oak Hill. They are a repeat applicant. They did appear in our previous cycle in 2020. They are not using an EMO or a CMO. However, the application assistance was provided by consultancy. Application is complete. You all, actually, here's the map here. 10-mile radius, there's LEA schools there, no charter schools in that radius there in Caldwell County. You all do have the Q&A and their responses from the second round question. So if they're on the board, on the line, I will turn it over to Oak Hill's board, and they can begin their 5-minute introduction.
Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me clearly?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Well, good afternoon, Charter School Advisory Board. I would like to thank you again for inviting us back for a second interview. Next, I would like to give you a brief update of things that have been in motion since our first interview. We are excited to report that our intent to enroll forms are at 265 to date, which is up from 241 when we last spoke to you in September. Our entire board participated in the first Ready to Open training session on September 29th, and 7 out of our 8 board members were able to be part of the entire training day. And today we have all 8 again present here for this interview. Also, since our last interview, at the request of this advisory board, we have provided a breakfast plan and have found a way to add a counselor who can provide mental health support. Through a very generous donation of school furniture by a local business and by the Oak Hill Development Organization from the school property they purchased, we have been provided almost enough furniture to fully furnish our school for the first 3 years. This has allowed us to shift money in the budget to be able to provide the breakfast program and for a counselor. For the breakfast program, it will be one that provides healthier options instead of just overly sugary foods. You will find a plan was submitted as part of our responses to your written questions. We have also developed 2 options for providing a counselor. One is to hire a part-time school counselor in the first year with a goal of working towards a full-time position in our second year, depending on our students' needs. And second, we could contract with a certified and insured counselor on an as-needed basis to provide support for the mental health of our students. We have already reached out to a person who is a licensed counselor for children ages 5 and up who is willing to help fulfill that need. In addition, we have also received a huge donation of over 3,000 books that will help jumpstart a new library for our school. Over the past few weeks, we already have a member of our community outreach team, a former librarian, categorizing those books for us. At the suggestion of this advisory board, we are excited to highlight our curriculum. We plan to offer a rigorous back to basics education, which is a traditional education approach that focuses on paper, pencil, and books. This is represented in core knowledge, where students focus on the basics, building a bank of knowledge of facts in a linear timeline and not jumping from topic to topic. Studies like one from Bogalusa, Louisiana, have shown that core knowledge has had great success in closing the achievement gap for students. We will use Shirley Grammar as a supplemental support to core knowledge. Concepts such as the basics of grammar and writing skills are merely glazed over in our elementary schools, but this curriculum provides a much greater level of rigor. We have also chosen to use Saxon Math. The spiralized approach of Saxon Math and its reinforcement of concepts through daily review has proven to set a good foundation for long-term mastery. As part of our mission, we have high personal expectations, not just for our students, but our staff and board of directors as well. This is provided by Core Essentials, our character education curriculum. It is woven throughout our application in order to establish a school culture that is on target with our core values, which are treat others right, make smart decisions, and maximize potential. To accomplish this, the teachers, principal, and staff will be held accountable to these values in their evaluations, and our board will be held accountable to these core values through a yearly outside evaluator. In addition, we will measure student success through not only their educational goals, but also through parent satisfaction surveys and teachers' reports. This education plan provides a strong contrast to the local district school system and provides families with a much-needed option. Due to financial mismanagement in the school system, they made a decision to consolidate. This consolidation led to a vacuum. Many children are now left facing up to 3-hour bus rides a day, and middle schoolers are faced with classroom sizes of 35+ students. In addition, many lost access to a neighborhood resource for technology. In the mountains of western North Carolina, there are many areas where once you leave main roads, you have no cell service, and Charter Spectrum will not run lines to provide internet because it's too costly. We've had people from our community outreach team on the ground visiting families in areas such as Draco and Duck Creek, offering them assistance to complete our intent to enroll forms because they have no internet access. Oak Hill Charter School is the best opportunity for many kids in our area to get access to basic resources for educational support. Additionally, our local district school board is sadly only comprised of representatives from about 3 community areas. In the recruiting process of our board, we've been very intentional and sought to provide more county-wide representation. Our board members represent at least 6 different communities and 2 counties. Our board, our community outreach team, and our prospective families are deeply committed and prepared to provide this much-needed option in Caldwell County. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we have 25 minutes, is it?
Yes.
We have 25 minutes to discuss the application, ask any questions that we did provide. Questions, looks like 10, looks like. And they have provided answers to those questions. So it's now open for questions from the board.
I don't have a question, just a comment. I just appreciate you taking time to answer our questions. And specific, I know I asked the question about the counselor, so I'm pleased to hear the reconsideration of that. I think that'll be a benefit for your students.
And I appreciate the answers to Saxon Math.
Yes, I agree. The Saxon Math question was very well thought out and very detailed. I appreciate that.
I'd like to hear a little more about the breakfast, the 80 cents, and the overview that was given in the opening statement was, that it was going to be a good breakfast. So I guess I just wanted to hear a little more detail. I know it says you can ask for a menu or a budget upon request, which would be nice to see, but more just an elaboration on it. How is it 80 cents?
Did they hear the question?
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. We, in the process of developing this program, we decided to, because the definition of a breakfast looks very different to different people. To someone like myself, that could look like bacon, eggs, a hot meal with pancakes and all the fixings. So we thought it best to study and look at various schools, charter schools, as well as our local district schools to see what's out there being offered. And in our local district school here, typically it's one breakfast item and usually a water. So we looked at some other charter schools, and it was offering one breakfast item plus something like, usually something like a super donut or something that's got a lot, like we mentioned, a lot of sugar in it, and fruit juice, and then a fruit. So we decided that we would try to look at stuff that was maybe a little bit more sustainable, but continuing to offer a little bit more than our district schools are, which keeping in conjunction with offering a fruit, offering milk or water, because the milk is easily reimbursable through the special milk program, and then offering things like yogurt, a granola bar, or a Nutri-Grain bar, something that's not just so sugary. And we also have a breakdown of prices, and a total for that budget that we came up with was $17,020. And that is assuming the higher end of the cost. That is assuming that exactly 60% of our kids would end up needing that free or reduced lunch. So that averaged out to be about 115 kids. And that is not assuming, or that is also assuming that all of them would possibly need the breakfast. That's not assuming any recoupment of cost from those who would pay for that breakfast then. So we decided to err on the side of caution and go with what it would possibly be the max cost out of that to make our budget workable. And I also have 3 different options for sample menus if you would like for me to share that.
Sure. Do you have a vendor? I don't know if you said this. You might have said this, but do you have a vendor secured at this point that is offering these prices?
So a lot of the meals that they have, they're wrapped, so they're already packaged. So we have an option where we would be able to provide or buy in bulk, since they are pre-wrapped. But we've also I've also personally been in contact with a few vendors on the price. That's why we included a more conservative estimate of the 80 cents per meal to add in any per pupil cost for transportation of any items if need be. We've checked with the local health department, and based on the packages being pre-wrapped, like the apple slices being pre-wrapped and the granola bars, that we shouldn't have a problem with distribution. So that provides 2 different options for the school.
Thank you.
So I have additional question regarding the breakfast and the lunch. So your original budget is 52,000, which I would assume would include breakfast and lunch, but now if you say breakfast is gonna be about 17, do you feel that that's 52 is sufficient to cover breakfast and lunch for students?
It would be an additional 17,000 on top of what we already have. That's why we were saying with the furniture line item going away and extra savings that we'll have in other areas due to Kelly's opening statement, we've opened up over $30,000 in the budget, so it allows to cover. So we would only dip into our surplus just ever so slightly to cover breakfast. Additionally, our 52,000 that we have, based on our numbers and being conservative, just in case we have to, we have 70% of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch. We have about a $7,000 to $8,000 extra built into that lunch based on our numbers that we have projected. So it does provide some comfort in our budget to be able to move those things around.
Any other question? Comments? All right, well, given that this, they have time for their 5-minute closing at this time.
Thank you so much. In our first interview, Mr. Bruce Friend made a comment in which I wish I had had the time to respond. He said, "I have always wondered why there weren't more charter schools in that area." I would have said 2 things. First, there's a lack of awareness. As common as they are in the urban areas of North Carolina, many people in ours still do not know what a charter school is. We have spent a lot of time educating people about this option, and while it's been a lot of work, it has been extremely rewarding. Second, the other reason is the ability to dare to dream, to believe that there could possibly be something out there that is different and better is hard to imagine. To think that you as a parent could have an affordable choice other than the district schools for your child's education is a brand new idea. To not feel forced into a one-size-fits-all educational system is a freaking we've never experienced. Our county has been through a lot in the past 20 years with the decline of the furniture industry. I've seen what the economic factor can do to break the drive of the human spirit. With this charter school and a recent economic comeback, I have seen a new hope and a new energy amongst our people. This charter school is not just about establishing a school. It is also about revitalization and bringing hope to an area that so desperately needs it. That's why this is so personal. For us, this board of directors, this team, this is about creating something that is sure to be life-changing for the students, families, and our communities we will serve. If you have the power to make a difference and you don't act on it, that is the only failure. We have the opportunity to break that glass ceiling of mediocrity and brokenness so that all children we serve will have the chance to reach their full potential. For far too long, our area has been stuck and something has got to give. With lagging test scores, disciplinary issues, and mismanaged budgets, something has got to change. We need that catalyst, that spark of hope, that there are better things on the horizon. With your approval today, help us make that happen for Caldwell County and beyond. It takes a lot of courage to go through this process of applying for a charter school, but as a team of like-minded people, we are all in. I want to share a quote from Margaret Mead that has become a personal inspiration to our team. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so this is our opportunity to say what we're thinking, and we have two options at this point. We can vote to send them through to Ready to Open, or we can vote to not send them through to Ready to Open.
I'll start again and just say, as I said at the earlier school, it's about trusting the board and feeling that they have a high degree of readiness and ability to do this project. Definitely think the need is there for this community, and I would hope that we move them forward for Ready to Open.
Yeah, I'd like to add that I've been very impressed with their community outreach so far, and even the number of student commitments that they have at this point. And very impressed also with their professional development that they really articulated well in the application itself. I too have a lot of confidence in this board in making this school happen.
I too. I do believe they're ready.
Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we move Oak Hill Charter School to the Ready to Open status on the accelerated path to the State Board of Education.
And Hilda Parlay seconds.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Ashley, since they're on the phone, you want to take a roll call vote?
Sure.
All right, this is a motion to move Oak Hill Charter School forward to the Ready to Open process on an accelerated timeline. Shelley Bullard.
Aye.
Todd Godby.
Aye.
Terry Stoops.
Aye.
Lynn Kroger.
Aye.
Cheryl Turner.
Aye.
Bruce Friend.
Aye.
Hilda Parlay.
Aye.
John Eldridge.
Aye.
Eric Sanchez.
Aye.
All right, Oak Hill, you guys have moved forward unanimously. OCS will be in contact with you. Claire Porter will be getting in touch with you regarding the Ready to Open process and participating in the program as your application is considered by State Board. We will bring your application to the State Board of Education in December, and we will keep you updated on that process. You should expect a final approval from the State Board sometime around January or February. Congratulations.
Thank you so very much. We are so excited about this opportunity.
Okay. We have,
Ms. Thomas will be up here at 1:30. Want to take a break?
yeah, do we wanna go do the motion first and then take the break? Then we don't have to come back?
I'll make a motion.
When you say don't come back, you mean
We don't have
Like,
to.
go ahead and.
Yeah,
after?
You gotta come back to.
we'll come back after closed session.
You will or you will not?
Well, no.
We don't have to, do we?
No.
We don't have
Yes,
anything
you
left.
gotta be back
Long as your
in
motion-
open session
Yeah,
As long as your motion
to adjourn.
states that you're not,
so I'll make a,
nothing discussed after.
I'll make a motion that we move into closed session with this caveat that there will be no action taken during closed session, and we will not be re-adjourning. Closed session will be the end of today's CSAP meeting. That was a hell of a motion.
Mr. Fran, we must adjourn in the open session.
Do we have a
We
second?
must adjourn.
Yeah,
in
but
the
we're not gonna do any business in open session, is my point.
Yeah, but we still have to adjourn in the
Yeah.
open session.
We'll have to close the closed session and then close the open session, but we're not gonna come back and publicly. There's no business to be taken in open session.
True, but you have to adjourn in
Yes,
the open session.
that is correct.
Is what
You
I'm
are
saying.
correct, yes.
Is there
If
a
anyone
second?
wants a second, whatever I just said.
Whatever that was.
If there's arm wrestling involved,
I think it's been properly moved and seconded. That we go into closed session.
Speak out legal.
Is all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Okay. Let's go.
Alex and Ted. I guess you all are gonna save a bunch of time without me talking so much.